He may be successful and he may not. Yeah.
Does he have a job now?
He does. Actually, Floyd is one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. He spent all of his time, he went into prison, and he would tell you that he met someone very quickly who said, the person actually told him to put away all the pictures of his family. It will just torture you. And you can either sort of sit here and rot, or you can do something. And Floyd spent most of his time in prison taking advantage of everything he could do, or talking his way into stuff. They had training programs for like heating air and all that kind of stuff. They didn't let people with life sentences do it. It was really for people who were going to get out, so they'd have a vocation when they got out. He talked his way into that. He did a mentoring program at Hutchinson that was huge for him. And when he was released for those 10 months, they took care of him, got him a job. He took classes on forgiveness. He took, you name it, he took the classes. And he's more forgiving than I am, I think, on this. And then when he went back in, he was transferred from Hutchinson to Lansing prison, and he spent a lot of his time. He had a job, but also he started painting, so that's what he did in prison. But he is since he got out and he had gotten that training for heating and air, that's what he's doing now.
I asked you about his connection to his family. We would tell that alienated from his
So, yeah, he had no, of course, after the trial has never had any contact with Tom, but his parents would come periodically. I think the hard thing for him is they generally visited immediately after, the only times they really visited were immediately after something happened. So like after the Kansas Supreme Court had affirmed his conviction. And so that part was very difficult for him. And then at one point in time he just said, you know, I'm sort of done, this is too much. I think his parents came one time and said, you know, why are you so upset? Why are you so sad? And you just had something denied. And he thought, you know I'm supposed to forgive, but this is maybe too much for me right now. So he has not had contact with his parents.
Does he believe his father was involved?
I think he would tell you, well, I think it's hard to deny that his father was involved. I think it's very difficult for you to realize that your parents would choose one child over another.
Right.
And so I think that's really hard on him. He will say things to the effect of, you know, it's hard for me to know for certain, and I wouldn't want anyone convicted like I was. But yes, I believe he thinks so. He had some step siblings that were out of the house when this happened, and he does have contact with them. So, and he had an uncle and an aunt who supported him from day one, and they have been his rock from the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would say yes. He has an uncle that still lives up in Oskaloosa. That was his main family that took care of him. Yeah.
Either Tom or his dad might have given up the other for a reduced sentence.
Yeah. Maybe. And you know, and law enforcement really was upset when Tom killed himself because they really would have wanted to interview him again.
So, you know, for the two of them to side against Floyd, well, if either one of them was it, he'd give up the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
Do you have any current projects that are looking promising?
We do. We have been pretty successful. We had another case reversed last year, and we've just had one, a conviction reversed in Shawnee County in August, and then we'll be filing on a case in the next month or so. So I think we have about 12 actual innocence cases right now. Most of them can be really complicated, and we're sort of getting all the experts together on some of them to see if we have other things to file. We have one that will definitely be trying to get somebody out in the next month or so.
Well, I want to personally thank you for putting hope back in my heart.
That's right.
That maybe some things in our society can get put right.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
that's sort of, that's our goal, is we hope to make the system better by doing this. And, you know, I hope that happens. I worry about it. I know that the two investigators that helped us on the case, this has been really hard on them. They have not been treated well since this happened by, because there are many people who blame them for Floyd's reversal. So, because they did help us.
So there's such a high bar
Yes.
for proving innocence, and there seems to be a really low bar for convicted.
It's, you know, and I think that's a combination of things. I mean, part of it's our jury system, right? And I think it's really difficult when you have a case and you have a 14-year-old girl who's been killed, and you have law enforcement and the prosecutor saying, this is the person we believe did it, did it. And a lot of times juries think, if they believe it, they must know something they're not telling us. And so you just, I think it's often very hard for juries. And then once you have that jury conviction, it is very hard for us to go back and reverse this situation. And I think that's the hardest.
Yeah, and that for me, that goes back to, you know, it's great that you get the people off, but then there needs to be follow through, like whether it's a civil suit or following through on prosecutorial misconduct, because as long as people keep running on tough on crime,
Yeah.
they will go find a guy.
Yes.
It's all about statistics. Let's make sure that we're, you know, conviction rates. And until they have to start paying consequences, that's going to continue. It's still going on. Tough on crime,
Yeah.
punishment.
And I think, I mean, there are certainly places where law enforcement is doing a lot to really make sure, that the decisions they make are the right decisions. And, you know, somebody's got to do it, right? So our hope is that the people who do make the decision to be law enforcement or prosecutors really take their job seriously and question what's the basis for their decisions and their convictions. Yeah.
What was the impact of all of this on that little community of Oskaloosa?
It's, I would say it's very split. Yeah, there's a lot of people that still believe, you know, Floyd was somehow involved. A lot of people will say things like, well, it's just, you know, the Bledsoes. So I think it's such a small community that everyone really formed opinions. And so I think that has been difficult. And then it's been very difficult on the law enforcement
I'll bet.
side of it, especially now that they're being sued for lots of money.
But there are some of those officers who were involved who feel very badly about the outcome, is that correct?
Yes, a couple of them.
Right, well, we just need to.
Yeah, I mean, that's your goal. And, you know, it's interesting, we take a lot of our students, a lot of the students who come into the project, they can take it as a second-year student. You can't really go into court and have a temporary license and practice until your third year of law school. So they will take our project, if they want to be prosecutors, a lot of times they'll take our project as a second-year student, which they can do. And then they'll go prosecute, and you know, we think that's great. Our goal is to make good prosecutors or good defense attorneys. But either way, in Floyd's case, the prosecutor was terrible and the defense attorney was terrible. So it was just a combination of, you know, no one really doing an adequate job.
Any consequences for the defense attorney?
I believe he's part of the lawsuit as well. I mean, I think, and he feels bad about it. This is not, no one wants to be the defense attorney who has this happen
Right.
to.
Right.
So, you know, he's still practicing. So it's, hopefully next time he'll do a better job.
Right.
than he did this time. So. Well, any other questions?
Alice, thank you so much.
Sure.
I appreciate it so much.
Can I have your attention